Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone. This ended up being episode number 54 instead of episode number 52. Just letting you know. Welcome, everyone, to CBD Talk Podcast, episode number 52. And tonight we have our very first politician, and this is a very exciting night for us. So we are welcoming Representative Joe Salazar, and he is one of our, let's see if I remember how to say this correctly, state representatives for the state of Colorado. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for having me on.
So, first of all, I am the first to admit that I do not know a whole lot about politics. So, I know just enough to get in trouble. So, could you explain to me what a state representative does?
So I'm a representative representing House District 31, which is the Thornton area primarily here in Adams County. And I represent around 75,000 people at the state capitol in Denver. We basically create and pass laws on a variety of issues, including on hemp as well as cannabis.
Okay, and in Adams County, um, have you heard from any of your constituents about hemp or cannabis?
Yeah, no, totally. People are for hemp and cannabis here in my House district. I've never heard anybody complain about the votes that I've taken in favor of the cannabis industry or on hemp. As a matter of fact, I hear a lot of positives here in House District 31 when it comes to the hemp community as well as cannabis.
Nice, very nice. Um, one of the reasons that we are learning more and more about politics in the hemp world is because of what's happening on a national level with Jeff Sessions.
Right.
And we're fortunate that you are running for Attorney General for the state of Colorado. And could you just speak to why it's important for us to have a pro-hemp, pro-cannabis Attorney General here in Colorado?
Couple of things. Number one, it's a constitutional right here in our state constitution. Number two is that as a state, we have under the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the States' Rights Amendment of the United States Constitution, we have that ability to control the way that we handle things here in the state of Colorado. And while people say that there's a conflict between the state and federal when it comes to regulation of cannabis, such as the criminalization of it as we see on the federal side, we have really strong arguments to say that in the state of Colorado, that's not what we want to do. We see cannabis as being, number one, a medicine. Our medicinal marijuana law has been in effect for around 15 years now. So that's number one. And number two, for the recreational side of it, our constituents, the citizens of the state of Colorado, by a huge, a pretty big majority, said that we wanted to, number one, have recreational marijuana and to have it regulated. So by the 10th Amendment, we should be able to do that. With Jeff Sessions doing what he's doing to try to criminalize it and use federal preemption laws, I think that he is understanding quite well that there are a number of benefits of cannabis in their states. We have a number of states now, and the number only grows every single year of those states that want to, number one, allow their residents to enjoy cannabis in their home states, and number two, the tax revenue that comes from it. I think that the pushback from these various states, including the state of, is one of the reasons why Sessions has not created a Gestapo of police force, federal police force, to go after these states. But we have to hold him at bay. Through the memorandum that he issued, he said that the various U.S. attorneys each state will decide on their own or have the discretion to decide how they want to enforce federal marijuana laws. And so what we have to do, and this is what I plan on doing as Attorney General, is sitting down with our U.S. attorney and say, hey, look, I want to have a really good relationship with you. We really want you to be hands-off here in the state of Colorado as much as possible. And we will regulate it and safety of it. to the extent of our state powers. And so please, let's just maintain that good relationship.
That's awesome. What about what he's would you have anything to do with the seizure laws? With um, I understand that Sessions was saying something like with search and seizure with drugs that the police are able to seize whatever. And I thought that Colorado had passed something to say that if something is seized during like a drug bust and it ends up that it really shouldn't have been a drug bust, that everything was legal, that they can't keep that property anymore. Is that counter to what Sessions is saying now?
So we passed last year a change to our civil asset forfeiture laws that said that law enforcement no longer can seize, can no longer can seize and sell. And let's just focus it on cannabis.
Yeah.
Can no longer seize and sell cannabis unless there are charges and a conviction.
Got it.
That's what we passed. But here's the problem. Our civil asset forfeiture law is a mess. And I've been working with members of the cannabis community to bring a bill this year, and I might have a couple of Republican sponsors on the Senate side, which is a really big deal, by the way, to really clean up the civil asset forfeiture law. Because, as I said, what we passed last year stops police from seizing unless there are charges and a conviction. But that is different from what prosecutors can do. Prosecutors can seize only with probable cause. So they're able to work around what we passed last year just by going through district attorneys, and probable cause can always be found, by and large, by the courts. So we have to change that up as well, and that's what we're looking to do in order to stop the civil asset forfeitures here in the state of Colorado.
Wow, that's really glad you're doing that. Because probable cause, that's kind of open,
It is. I mean, it's a really easy standard to find.
Yeah.
Probable cause that some type of crime has occurred.
And so you are also an attorney,
Right.
and you work with a lot of civil rights cases.
Yes, I'm a civil rights attorney here in the state.
How have you seen the marijuana laws in the past affect people and their livelihood and such compared to current laws here in the state of Colorado? Has there been a big change? And what else do you think we could be doing better?
So there have been some changes, but with respect to our state law, when it comes to the use of cannabis, such as in employment or in housing or places of public accommodation, we still have that disconnect with individuals who are able to use recreational marijuana or even medical marijuana. Let's go with medical marijuana. Mm-hmm. So let's say that you live in an apartment complex and you are using medical marijuana, and the apartment complex wants to kick you out as a result of your use. There was a case that came through the Civil Rights Division, I want to say maybe 3-4 years ago, where the Civil Rights Division fought on behalf of that medical marijuana user to say, no, you cannot kick this person out because they are disabled, and medical marijuana helps with their disability. And the Civil Rights Division, they lost that case. So what we need to do, and also there's I think it's a state Supreme Court case. I think it got all the way up to the Colorado Supreme Court that said that when it comes to employment issues, that if a person tests positive for marijuana in employment, that yes, they can still be terminated from employment without violating our civil rights laws. So there's a number of things that we have to do to adjust for the new, the fact that we have legalized cannabis here in the state of Colorado. We still need to catch up.
Yeah, we do. And we were talking earlier about another bill that you've been working on, the hemp food bill.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I'm excited about this bill because I have a Republican co-sponsor. We feel really confident that it's going to get out of both the House and the Senate. Of course, there's many an obstacle that could cause the wheels of the bus to fall off between now and then. But basically what this bill does is it broadens the definition of what a hemp food is. It broadens it so much that pretty much anything could be considered a hemp food, because what we want to do is we want to spur the industry and the economics around the industry here in the state of Colorado. This will help out so much just by changing the definition around, and we're looking forward to it.
So for those people, because we have a lot of new listeners all the time, can you explain what a hemp food would be? First of all, that it has no THC in it.
Right. That it has less than 0.3% THC. We ran a bill a few years back to do a study on the hemp seeds to find out which ones, which strains would have less than the 0.3%. We completed that last year, and so now the next step is to allow these hemp farmers to plant those seeds and basically grow crops throughout the state of Colorado for products. Now, what this bill does is it opens it up to any kind of product, right? I mean, we're talking about hempcrete, we're talking about got foods. I mean, everything that you can imagine. That's what we're trying to do in terms of changing the definition, is open up the industry to absolutely everything that can be grown through hemp.
And that's one of the things, is Colorado is already a leader nationwide when it comes to acreage grown in hemp.
Right.
So, it's, and we've got a lot of states coming on, a lot of farming states coming on. Kentucky is, I think, the second, and I can see those tobacco farms getting switched over to hemp.
Hopefully, and what I really like about this bill is that it helps those rural areas that are having a hard time with economic development. So such as Pueblo and Otero County, out in Montezuma County, and in the Mesa County areas, Grand Junction and what have you. I mean, this really helps farmers diversify the kinds of crops that they have, and be able to sell those crops for manufacturing and production.
That's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. I
I'm really
too. And so as long as it has a less than 0.3% THC in it, it's considered industrial hemp. And so it can be used in all the different products. I interviewed a gentleman maybe about a month ago from Israel and the UK. He goes back and forth between the two. And that's the way they do it in Europe as well, I guess, is they go by the strain. So as long as you're growing that strain, it's legal.
Right. And it's my understanding that Israel is like on the forefront of all this in terms of growing hemp and turning it into some type of products.
Yeah.
We need to get on the forefront of this. This is not something that we're seeing a lot of industry leaving the United States and going to other countries. This is something that we can grow here. It creates jobs here. It creates the production and the manufacturing of products, which also helps grow jobs. So this is a smart way of going about it, and it's also a kind of industry that isn't so easily co-opted by automation.
Exactly.
We're seeing a ton of jobs leaving or being co-opted by automation through robots and what have you, and we're not going to really see that happening so much, at least in present date, with industrial hemp. So I think it could help out quite a bit.
Yeah, and we all have a special place in our heart for our farming community. They have been just absolutely marginalized. I mean, they just keep getting smaller and smaller, and family farms are disappearing. And you used to have generations of people, and this can reboot that. This can bring that pride back, and also with a product that that is actually pretty easy to grow. It can provide such value to people medically. It can, like you said, with hempcrete and the biofuel industry. I think one of the biggest industries that they had predicted would be one of the first ones economically to be possibly overturned was the plastics, because you can use hemp in plastics, and of course, paper. There's just so many things that could be done with this, and the effect that hemp has on the environment is actually a positive effect rather than depleting the soil.
Yeah, exactly. So hemp. There's multiple uses to it, from practically every strain of fiber that's in the plant itself, and that's just a beauty of it. But let's say that you grow a crop and you till it back into the soil. I mean, healing benefits for the soil too. I mean, the nitrates and what have you. I mean, it helps rejuvenate the soil. We don't see that in a whole lot of crops.
No.
But that's what we see with industrial hemp. So there's so many positives to it all the way around.
So what are you finding would be a negative for? Because you're saying there's a possibility that the wheels on the bus could fall off. Why would someone not want this?
Because it's politics at the Colorado General Assembly. I mean, what I find in my past 6 years of being a legislator, the thing that I find is that we have to constantly educate people about various bills that we're trying to bring. And I get that. Nobody can know absolutely everything about every bill. But one thing that is very frustrating is when we not only have to educate people, but we have to overcome ignorance and bias. And there are still so many people in the state of Colorado, and including in the General Assembly, who think that marijuana equals hemp. That's all they see. Hemp? Oh my goodness! So you're going to be able to smoke it? No.
Yeah, hemp. Anything that has to do with marijuana, hemp, cannabis, it's all the same thing. It all equals the same thing. It all means you're getting high. So.
Right. And so we have to overcome those kinds of biases, and it could be frustrating at times. But
preaching to the choir.
Right. So we just have to continue doing it with my colleagues, and I'm quite certain of it, that once the bill's introduced and we get it into committee and get it to the House floor, that I'm going to be spending an awful lot of my time having to educate my members that no, we're not. This is not growing marijuana out in the big fields of Pueblo or the San Luis Valley. This is hemp. Yeah. So sometimes.
The look of frustration on your face. I have had that same look so many times. I know. It's so sad. And the really funny thing is, they just want to be against it so badly because there's something like in the fiber of their soul that's like, no, this is bad. But
what?
They just don't understand, and it's just so hard to try to figure out what that magic key is going to be. I feel like we should give everybody a drop, a milliliter of tincture. Just, hey, everyone just try it, and they'll find out, oh, I'm not high. We just have to prove to them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be a little frustrated as I move this bill along, but it's just something that we have to do. I mean, this is the name of the game, is that you're constantly having to educate your colleagues on what is or what isn't something that spurs some type of prejudice in their minds. And then, I mean, think about it. I mean, we literally have had generations of Americans who have been led to believe that hemp equals marijuana, hemp equals getting high, hemp equals, some type of illicit drug. And so now we're having to educate people, and their worth. I mean, it's almost ingrained in their DNA. We have to re-educate them about what it is not in order to get them beyond their prejudice.
Exactly. Now, can you give a shout out to the Republican person that's doing this with you?
Yes, Republican Senator Don Quorum out of Montrose. I love Don. Don is just he's a really good, really smart Republican who he gets this stuff, right? I mean, we don't agree on absolutely everything, but he gets this. He gets that this is really going to help out disadvantaged rural areas in such a big way.
And it really is so important. I mean, and the demand right now is growing exponentially as more states come on. We could really use the product. I mean, we could really use that oil.
Oh my God, and everything that you can do with it. I love it. I mean, I went to the Hemp Expo.
That's where I met you.
Yeah, right. So went to the Hemp Expo, what was that, about 3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
4 weekends ago, I imagine. And I had a big box of hemp product, from the tinctures
Hmm.
to lotions and things of that nature, food. Oh, I gotta tell you, the hemp chips that I tried were just,
Ooh.
they were off the charts, right? And the hemp dip, it was a cheese dip made with hemp that was just, it was over the top.
Did you have the
But
hemp caramels?
oh, I still have them. I still have some hemp caramels.
Oh,
I don't know how I still have them, but I
I
do.
don't know either.
Yeah. But I mean, and so I take I take a drop of, or a few drops of some of the hemp
Tinctures,
oils
oils.
at night, the tincture at night, and I sleep extremely well. No, I'm not stoned or anything like that. I mean, it helps you find your chi again, right? I mean, it
Hmm.
helps you decompress.
Hmm.
Just like so many other things out there help you decompress, like a chamomile tea or something like that. I mean, it just it's a natural thing. It's Mother Nature's plant, and so having those products out there and talking with my colleagues about the products, that's my way of trying to educate them about, hey, there's so many uses for it.
Right. And even to, like with the fiber, there's a lot of hemp clothing out there. There's the rope, the hemp rope, and like you said, the hempcrete, and on and
The
on and on.
hemp silk. Did you see that hemp silk?
I did not see the hemp silk. Oh
The hemp
my
silk.
gosh.
So where the hempcrete was at,
Uh-huh.
that same lady, I think it was the same lady who had the hempcrete as an example. She
Jenny
also had,
Gold, probably.
yeah, so hemp silk. And I was like, I had no idea that there was hemp silk. So I touched it, and oh yeah, it totally felt like silk. So, I mean, we talked about, well, what kind of machinery does this take? And she told me that a lot of these products are being made out of the United States, in China and other areas. And so that's why we have to open this up, because if they're going to get ahead of us on this, I mean, we're going to be left out in the cold.
Yeah.
And so, but the machinery is the big deal, right? And there's this one machine that they were talking about that separates the fibers, and I can never say the name of the machine. I think it starts with E.
I
Um,
wouldn't know. Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember what it is, but those that kind of machinery is needed here in the United States, because I keep hearing that as a major complaint, that so many of these farmers and manufacturers don't have that machine in order to strip the fibers down. So,
Right.
this bill is trying to move that along and demonstrate the need for the machinery in order to manufacture the hemp products.
And already, I mean, let's look at it. There's been a huge increase in jobs in the industry. Huge.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the amount of tax revenue, please,
right.
amazingly wonderful. What it's done economically for the state.
Yep.
But it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we need this hemp bill passed so that we can open up these, the farmlands. And I mean, right now, I know you have to get a license from the Department of Ag to be able to grow, et cetera. But to be able to drive through Montrose and the different areas that you talked about, Pueblo, and see thriving farms and what that does to the community. You've got people all of a sudden who can afford to to buy a car.
Right, right.
People that are either the actual people that own the land that are planting it, or the people that they're hiring to help them, or the people that have that are running the machines now that are coming in to process the fiber. Oh my gosh, the potential is so amazing.
What was it? 2 summers ago, my wife and I, we were driving back from the San Luis Valley. My family's from the San Luis Valley, and we were down there visiting family. And we were driving back, and we were going along this back road to link up with a highway that would lead us back to Denver. And I was looking at all the farmland, and I was feeling really bad because my cousins. I mean, there's nothing. They don't have jobs, and if they do have jobs, it's really poor paying jobs.
Mhm.
And just the communities themselves they're depressed economically, depressed mentally
Mhm.
and emotionally, because there's nothing down there. And I was saying to her, man, we got to figure out what to do here. I mean, I'm a state representative. Yeah, I represent Thornton, but this is where my roots are, is here in the San Luis Valley. And that's when I really started getting into the idea of, legislation involving hemp, because that is, prime farmland, number one. I mean, grow potatoes down there and barley and hops and all sorts of things. It's prime farmland. It's a huge amount of land. I mean, we're talking about the size of Connecticut. And it could help spur the economy there in the San Luis Valley and in Pueblo and in other areas. So why wouldn't we do it?
Exactly. And like you said, it's just because of politics and ignorance.
Yeah, they go hand in hand a lot from what I
find. Yeah. So what do you think that you could do as a representative to help with the ignorance side?
Just continue to educate my community, educate the state. And as an attorney general candidate, I have been going across the state educating people on the issues of hemp, on the issues of cannabis, and trying to get people in a good place. And I'll tell you, it's phenomenal, the responses that I'm receiving across the state of those individuals who are not politicians. I mean, people on the ground level, the community members, they get this stuff, right? I mean, I haven't had to really, stretch out and have, these epic, polemics on CBD and marijuana, cannabis, any of those things. I mean, people get it. They're just like, hey, will this help create a job here in Pueblo? Yes, I like it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not those individuals. It's the representatives and the senators. I don't know what happens, and maybe it's that whole politics of wanting to be reelected that causes people to turn stupid sometimes. And so I'm hoping that as this bill moves forward, that I don't have to struggle to have to educate people. Yeah. I'm hoping that as this bill moves forward, they're going to see the advantages to their community. And that they're just going to jump on board and say, you know what, this is going to be great for economic viability.
Do we know if any other states have done something similar?
I don't think I've heard of any other states that have done something similar.
So we're a leader. Colorado has the opportunity to be a leader here.
Yeah, by changing that, but just by changing the definition.
Yeah, amazing. So, okay, going back to Attorney General. So I know that you can help protect us from the elf man, Jeff Sessions. So you didn't say that.
He's an angry elf.
He's bitter. He's a bitter Betty.
Remember the movie Elf when he says that? He's an angry elf.
He is.
He is.
So you can help us there. What are some other ways that the Attorney General can help the industry?
So yeah, I mean, and when industry knows that they have a friendly attorney general, an attorney not going to go around and sue them and scare the hell out of the industry, they're going to want to come here. They're going to say, Attorney General Salazar, this dude, he's down with this industry, and on the legal side of things, he wants to see this industry succeed because it's good for Colorado. That is going to bring people here to the state of Colorado. If you have an attorney general who hates the industry, who resides in a world of ignorance on the issue, then yeah, they're not gonna state. So that's the best thing that I could do as attorney general, is not only fend off what federal government may do on the cannabis side, but also to help spur the industry on the hemp side.
And like you said, we have lots of land south. We have lots of land in a lot of places. Yeah, on the western slope. Gosh, they could be growing. They could be extracting. They could be the opportunity. The opportunity doesn't have to all be in Denver. Hello,
right?
we got a big state. We got lots of land, so spread it out a little bit.
And not only that, but the advantage that I have over my opponents, Democrat and Republican alike, is I build a relationship with the stakeholders. So the stakeholders can give me a call and say, "Hey, Attorney General, we have this thing happening. How can you help us out?" And I don't have to be like, well, who the hell are you? I mean, it's like, yeah, no, I know who you are, and we've worked on these issues together. So yeah, let's figure it out. Yeah. So I mean, that's the important part of it, is having an attorney general who is already down with the stakeholders and willing to work on solutions to problems and find innovative ways to help the industry.
It also helps when you are educated enough to know the difference between THC, CBD, CBG, CBA. You know, that THC gets you high, the others
Right.
don't. We're
Yeah,
good. Industrial hemp, it's a good thing for, for everybody.
right.
So, oh my gosh. Well, I really appreciate the time that you've given us. So when is election day?
So we just went through caucus last night, and so caucus now leads to our county assemblies all the way up to state assembly that will happen in I believe it's April 13th or 14th of next month. And so once we get to state assembly, that is when all the delegates to state assembly will be able to vote on the attorney general candidates as well as the gubernatorial candidates, the attorney general candidates, and who will be placed on the ballot for the primary, which will take place on June 26th. And then on June 26th, after the primary, that's when we know who our attorney general candidate will be to go to the general election, which will take place on November 6th.
So the common person that is registered independent or Democrat can vote on June 26th.
Right.
So that's their first opportunity to support you for just the general, unless they're a delegate, in which they can support you at the
Yes,
county.
if you're not a delegate, you can vote for me is at the primary on primary day.
Okay. And people, this is important.
This is really important. This will be the first time that independents are able to vote in our primaries, as well as Democrats. Now you can't, if you're an independent, you can't cast a vote for a Republican and then turn around and cast a vote for a Democrat.
Right.
You got to choose one side or the other, or else you negate your vote. So what I'm asking independents to do is, and I resonate very well with independents in my House district as well as across the state, is, vote for me for attorney general for the primary. And I really need people to come out strong. I mean, I already have a record on these issues, and it's a really good record with the cannabis and hemp communities. And so this tiger doesn't change his stripes. So I'm asking people to come out in droves to vote for me for the primary on June 26th.
All right. Well, we're going to mobilize our troops as much as possible. And we need to, the best thing that we can do for our industry is have an educated attorney general that knows what the scoop is. And so we appreciate your support.
And I don't know, Don, if it would be appropriate to put my give my website address out there.
Definitely. And I will put it in the show notes as well. But please do.
Because this is really important, is that I'm running my campaign. This is a grassroots campaign. I'm not accepting money from the big corporations, corporate PACs. I'm not accepting money from oil and gas. I'm not accepting big banks. This is a Colorado campaign. And what I tell people is that, the attorney general is known as the people's lawyer. And what I'm telling people is that, look, the people's lawyer is your seat. And I'm asking you to please return the seat back to the people. So, on my average donation is about $33. And so I'm asking people to please contribute to this campaign. The website address is www.salazarforcoag.com.
And that's for FOR.
FORCOAG.com, yes.
And I will put that website in the show notes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, click the information, go below, it'll be in there. If you're listening to it on iTunes or Google Play or SoundCloud, check the show notes in there. It'll be in there, so you'll be able to click on it and go straight to his website. So,
great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I know that you've had a very busy few weeks, in the last few weeks with everything happening at the state. So
yeah, well, if you notice, I used to have a full head of hair until Friday, and it's all gone.
You've been working hard. All right, and then maybe we can get a follow-up with you on that hemp bill once it's done. So
absolutely.
Okay, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Remember, stay happy and stay healthy.
Thank you, Don.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.